My name is Cynthia, I'm 42 years old, and I died witnessing something so shocking that I still struggle to grasp it, the 7 stages of semen retention. What I'm about to share may sound unbelievable, but Jesus literally revealed something men and women desperately need to understand right now. I was never religious. I believed in God, went to church on Easter and Christmas, but I wasn't what you'd call devoted. I worked as a pharmaceutical sales rep, traveled constantly, and lived a pretty normal life. Then one morning in February, I collapsed in my kitchen from a massive pulmonary embolism. Blood clot. No warning. I was making coffee 1 second, and the next second I couldn't breathe. My roommate found me on the floor, blue, not breathing. She called 911, but I was already gone. And that's when everything changed. I found myself standing in this space. It wasn't a room. It wasn't outdoors. It was just light. Pure light everywhere, but it didn't hurt my eyes. And standing in front of me was a man. I knew immediately who he was. Jesus. I can't explain how I knew. I just knew. His presence was overwhelming but not scary. It was like coming home to someone who'd been waiting for you your entire life. He smiled at me and said, "Cynthia, it's not your time yet. But I'm going to show you something that you need to share with the world. Especially with men. They've forgotten something crucial." I was confused. I said, "Why me? I'm not a preacher. I'm not even that religious. And I'm a woman. Shouldn't a man share whatever this is?" He laughed. Actually laughed. And he said, "That's exactly why it's you. Sometimes the message needs to come from an unexpected source. Men have stopped listening to other men about this. They need to hear it differently." Then he showed me something I never expected. He showed me the 7 stages of semen retention. I know how that sounds. Trust me, I was standing there thinking the same thing. But Jesus looked at me and said, "Cynthia, do you think I created anything in the human body without purpose? Do you think anything I designed is shameful to discuss when discussed with wisdom and truth?" And suddenly I understood. This wasn't about something crude or inappropriate. This was about understanding God's design for male energy, vitality, and spiritual power. Jesus began to explain the first stage to me. He said, "The first stage is the conscious decision. This is where a man must choose to honor what I've placed within him instead of carelessly discarding it." I watched as he showed me visions of men throughout history. Ancient practitioners in China, India, spiritual masters, even some of the great minds of modern times. Tesla, Ollie. Men who understood something that modern culture had completely lost. Jesus said, "In your modern world, men are told constantly to release, to expel, to give away this energy through every form of stimulation and instant gratification. But I designed the male body to be a vessel, not a leaking bucket. When I created Adam, I breathed life into him. That breath, that life force, it's connected to everything in his body, including what modern medicine dismisses as just biological fluid." He showed me the scripture from Genesis where it talks about God breathing life into man. And he said, "Life force is real, Cynthia. It's not metaphorical. When a man retains his seed, he's not just keeping fluid in his body. He's keeping concentrated life energy, vitamins, minerals, proteins, zinc, neurotransmitters. But more than that, spiritual essence." Jesus explained that this first stage requires a man to go against everything his culture tells him. The enemy knows the power in retention, he said. That's why your modern world pushes constant sexual release through every screen, every advertisement, every message. Keep men depleted. Keep them weak. Keep them distracted. He quoted Matthew 6 verses 22 to 23 to me. "The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness." This applies to what men allow into their minds through their eyes, Jesus explained. The beginning of retention is the decision to stop feeding the mind poison and to start honoring the body as my temple. I was taking all this in, and honestly, I was still processing the strangeness of it. But Jesus was so matter-of-fact about it. like he was explaining how a car engine works. Then he moved to the second stage. Breaking the addiction, he said. This is where the real battle begins. Jesus showed me the brain of a man who had spent years in the pattern of frequent ejaculation. He showed me the neural pathways lit up like highways. Dopamine receptors burned out. The same patterns you see in drug addiction. Your scientists are finally discovering what ancient wisdom always knew, he told me. The brain doesn't distinguish between types of addiction. Whether it's a substance or a behavior, the mechanisms are the same. And the enemy has weaponized sexual release to keep an entire generation of men in bondage. He referenced 1 Corinthians 6 verses 18 to 20, flee from sexual immorality. All other sins a person commits are outside the body, but whoever sins sexually, sins against their own body. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit? Jesus explained that breaking this addiction requires complete rewiring of the brain. It's not just willpower, he said. It's about creating new pathways. When a man chooses retention, he's fighting against years of conditioning. His body will scream at him to return to the old pattern. But if he persists, if he trains his pelvic muscles, learns to breathe correctly, learns to separate arousal from the need for release, then slowly, the new pathway becomes stronger than the old one. I watched as he showed me men struggling through this stage. Nights of difficulty. Moments of temptation. But also men who pushed through and emerged different on the other side. The sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, is activated during ejaculation, Jesus explained. But retention activates the parasympathetic system. Rest and healing. This is why men who retain feel calmer, more grounded, more present. They're not constantly in a state of stress response. Then he showed me the third stage. Detoxification, he said. This is where the body purges what needs to be released. I saw men experiencing headaches, irritability, trouble sleeping. Jesus explained, when a man has been ejaculating frequently for years, his body has adapted to that state. Toxins have accumulated. When he stops, the body begins a cleansing process. In Chinese medicine, they call the essence Jing. In Indian tradition, it's called ojas. Different names for the same truth, life force energy. He showed me Leviticus 15, the passages about bodily emissions, and said, even in the Old Covenant, I gave instructions about the power of seed. Not because it's dirty, but because it's sacred. What is sacred must be treated with reverence. Jesus explained that during detoxification, a man must support his body. Drink water. Eat clean foods. Move his body gently. Fast occasionally. The temporary discomfort is the body's way of resetting itself, he said. Like when you fast, the first days are hard, but then clarity comes. I was amazed at how detailed he was being. This wasn't vague spiritual talk. This was practical, physical instruction. Then we moved to the fourth stage. Increased vitality, Jesus said, and I could hear the excitement in his voice. This is where men begin to feel what I originally intended for them. He showed me the hormonal changes. Testosterone stabilizing at higher levels. DHEA increasing. Growth hormone optimizing. Your scientists can measure these changes, he said. This isn't mystical. It's biological reality combined with spiritual truth. Jesus quoted Proverbs 31 verse 3, do not spend your strength on women, your vigor on those who ruin kings. This was wisdom given to kings about the importance of conserving their vital energy, he explained. A king who constantly depleted himself through sexual indulgence couldn't lead effectively, couldn't think clearly, couldn't access the wisdom needed to guide his people. He showed me men at this stage feeling like they'd woken up from a fog. Energy to pursue their purpose. Motivation to create. Drive to build. This is the fuel I designed for men to accomplish their mission on earth, Jesus said. Not to be wasted on screens and momentary pleasure, but to be channeled into creation, provision, protection, and leadership. I watched men taking this energy and pouring it into businesses, art, physical training, serving their communities. Jesus smiled. This is what I created them for. But the enemy wants them exhausted, depleted, sitting in front of screens, barely surviving. That's not my design. Then he showed me the fifth stage. Magnetism and presence, Jesus said. This is where others begin to notice. I saw men walking into rooms and everyone turning to look. Not because they were doing anything dramatic, but because something about them had changed. Their energy field had expanded. Jesus explained, when sexual energy is retained and circulated properly through the body, it creates a bioelectric field. Your scientists are beginning to measure this. They call it the body's electromagnetic field. But spiritual traditions have known about this for thousands of years. He referenced Matthew 5 verses 14 to 16, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others." When a man retains, Jesus explained, his light grows brighter. People are drawn to it, especially women. The feminine is naturally attracted to the masculine when the masculine is full of retained power. This is divine design. But men must be careful here. He warned me about the danger of ego at this stage. When women start noticing them more, when people want to be around them more, men can become inflated, prideful. They can start using this magnetism to manipulate rather than serve. This is a test. Will they use this increased power for selfish gain or for kingdom purposes? Jesus showed me men at this stage going two different directions. Some became arrogant, collecting female attention like trophies, letting their egos run wild. Others remained humble, used their increased presence to serve, to lead with integrity, to point others toward God rather than toward themselves. This stage reveals character, Jesus said. Magnetism is neutral. It's what you do with it that matters. Then we reached the sixth stage. Enhanced intuition and spiritual awareness, he said. This was the stage that fascinated me most. Jesus showed me the pineal gland, the third eye as ancient traditions call it, beginning to activate in men who had been retaining for months. This small gland is the bridge between physical and spiritual, he explained. When sexual energy is directed upward through the spine instead of expelled outward, it feeds this gland. It activates dormant regions of the brain. He quoted Joel 2 verse 28, "I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy, your old men will dream dreams, your young men will see visions." This isn't just about the day of Pentecost, Jesus explained. This is about what happens when my people learn to steward their bodies correctly. The dreams, the visions, the prophetic insights, they come more easily when the body is full of vital force rather than depleted. I watched men at this stage experiencing synchronicities, moments of clarity, enhanced creativity, empathic connections with others. Jesus smiled. This is the beginning of accessing what I originally designed humans to experience. Before the fall, Adam walked in constant communion with me. His intuition was perfect. His discernment was clear. Retention is one of the keys to restoring some of that connection. But he also warned me. Spiritual experiences must be tested. Just because a man has visions doesn't mean all his visions are from me. The enemy also gives visions. Discernment is crucial. That's why retention must be paired with time in my word, with prayer, with spiritual maturity. Otherwise, a man can be deceived by his own inflated sense of spiritual importance. He showed me men who'd gotten to this stage and gone off the rails, thinking they were prophets or enlightened beings, when really they just accessed some spiritual energy without the character and wisdom to steward it. Power without character is dangerous, Jesus said firmly. Then he brought me to the seventh and final stage. Spiritual embodiment and transmutation, Jesus said. This is the destination of the journey. He explained that traditionally, this stage comes after a minimum of 100 days of complete retention, though for some men it takes longer. The seed completes its cycle, he said. It transforms from gross physical matter into refined spiritual essence. Your scientists don't have equipment to measure this yet, but it's real. Jesus showed me men at this stage who had become different. They carried weight, authority, grace. Not the forced kind of authority that comes from ego, but the natural kind that comes from alignment with divine purpose. He quoted Romans 12 verses 1 to 2, "Offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." This is what transformation looks like, Jesus said. When a man offers his body, including his sexual energy, as a living sacrifice, he is transformed. The renewing of the mind happens. He begins to think differently, feel differently, operate differently. I watched these men moving through the world carrying a tangible presence. When they spoke, people listened. When they prayed, things shifted. When they walked into broken situations, healing followed. This is the power I intended for my sons, Jesus said. Not power to dominate or control, but power to serve, to heal, to restore, to create. He showed me the balance of masculine and feminine energy within these men. In your culture, men have been confused about masculinity, he explained. They think it's either aggressive domination or passive weakness. But true masculinity is the balance. The Shiva and Shakti, as some traditions call it. The divine masculine contains both strength and tenderness, both power and gentleness. Retention helps restore this balance. Jesus explained that at this stage, every action a man takes carries greater weight. His words have more power. His prayers are more effective. His presence brings more peace. This isn't about him being special. It's about him finally operating the way I designed him to operate from the beginning. But then Jesus got serious with me. He looked right into my eyes and said, "Cynthia, this is the part you must emphasize. With greater power comes greater responsibility." He showed me men at this stage who'd fallen into judgment and spiritual pride. Men who looked down on others who weren't on this path. Men who became harsh and condescending. This is a perversion of the gift, Jesus said. When a man reaches this stage and responds with anything other than deeper humility and greater compassion, he's missed the entire point. The purpose of this power is service. If he's not using it to lift others, heal others, serve others, then he's just become a more refined version of selfish. He quoted Luke 12 verse 48, "From everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded, and from the one who has been entrusted with much, much more will be asked." These men have been given much, Jesus explained. They will be held accountable for how they use it. Did they use their vitality to create beauty? Did they use their magnetism to serve? Did they use their spiritual awareness to point others to me? Or did they hoard it all for themselves? I was taking all this in, overwhelmed by the depth of what he was showing me. Then Jesus said something I'll never forget. "Cynthia, the reason this teaching has been lost in the Western Church is because the enemy knows how powerful it is. If Christian men understood this, if they stopped wasting their seed on pornography and casual sex and learned to retain and transmute this energy, they would become unstoppable. They would have the vitality to pursue their God-given purposes. They would have the magnetism to draw others to the kingdom. They would have the spiritual awareness to hear my voice clearly and move in my power." He showed me the state of men in modern culture. Exhausted, addicted, depressed, anxious, lacking purpose. This is not an accident, Jesus said. This is warfare. Keep men depleted and they can't fight. Keep them addicted and they won't seek me. Keep them ashamed and they won't walk in their authority. But then he showed me what could happen if men embraced this teaching. I saw men rising up as fathers who were present and engaged. Husbands who had energy for their wives. Leaders who could think clearly and act decisively. Warriors who could fight spiritual battles effectively. Creators who could bring beauty into the world. Servants who had the stamina to love their communities well. This is what I want, Jesus said. Not because retention is the magic solution to everything, but because it's one of the foundational keys to men stewarding their bodies as my temple. It must be combined with prayer, with worship, with studying my word, with serving others, with emotional maturity. Retention alone can just create a man with more energy to sin. But retention combined with devotion to me creates a man who can change the world. He quoted 1 Thessalonians 4 verses 3 to 4, "It is God's will that you should be sanctified, that you should avoid sexual immorality, that each of you should learn to control your own body in a way that is holy and honorable." Learning to control the body includes learning to control sexual energy, Jesus explained. This is part of sanctification, part of becoming holy. Not because sex is bad, but because sexual energy is so powerful that it must be stewarded with wisdom. Then Jesus told me about the science that was beginning to back up these ancient teachings. He showed me research on neurogenesis, how semen contains nerve growth factors that can create new neurons when retained in the body instead of expelled. He showed me studies on hormone optimization, studies on the benefits of avoiding pornography, studies on the connection between sexual behavior and mental health. Your scientists are slowly rediscovering what I built into the human body from the beginning, he said. But they're still far behind what spiritual masters have known for millennia. Jesus walked me through each stage again, this time showing me the pitfalls men needed to avoid. In stage 1, the pitfall was giving up too quickly when it got hard. In stage 2, the pitfall was returning to old patterns under stress. In stage 3, the pitfall was mistaking detox symptoms for failure and quitting. In stage 4, the pitfall was wasting new energy on distractions instead of purpose. In stage 5, the pitfall was pride and using magnetism for selfish gain. In stage 6, the pitfall was spiritual deception and thinking every vision was from God. In stage 7, the pitfall was judgment and superiority over others. Every stage has its test, Jesus said. The journey requires wisdom, community, and constant connection to me. A man shouldn't walk this path alone. He needs brothers who understand. He needs accountability. He needs to stay in my word so he doesn't get off track. I asked him, why don't churches teach this? He smiled sadly. Because the Western church has become uncomfortable with the body. They've separated spirit and flesh in a way I never intended. They'll talk about prayer and worship, but not about sexuality and energy. They've let shame rule instead of wisdom. But this is changing. I'm raising up teachers who will bring these truths back into the light. Then Jesus said, Cynthia, you need to go back now. You need to share this testimony. Many won't believe you. Some will mock you. Some will say this is inappropriate for a woman to talk about. But you speak what I've shown you. The men who are ready will hear it. And it will change their lives. I started to panic. But I don't understand all of this fully. I'm not qualified. He laughed again. You're not supposed to be the expert. You're supposed to be the messenger. Share what I showed you. The men who are serious will do their own research. They'll study the ancient practices. They'll experiment with their own bodies. They'll find the path that works for them. Your job is just to plant the seed of possibility. And then everything went white. I woke up in a hospital bed 3 days later. The doctors said I'd been clinically dead for 8 minutes before the paramedics revived me. They said I'd been in a coma since. Brain damage was likely. But when I woke up, I was completely fine. Clear-minded. No damage at all. The first thing I did was write down everything Jesus had shown me. Every detail I could remember. And now I'm sharing it with you. I know this sounds crazy. I know some of you will think I made this up or that I was hallucinating. But I'm telling you what I experienced. Jesus showed me these 7 stages of semen retention because he wants men to understand the power he placed inside them. He wants them to stop wasting it and start stewarding it. He wants them to rise up in their full strength and fulfill their purposes on earth. This isn't about being weird or extreme. This is about understanding God's design and working with it instead of against it. It's about giving men back the vitality, focus, and spiritual power that's been stolen from them by a culture that wants them weak and distracted. If you're a man hearing this, I want you to know you're not weak. You're not broken beyond repair. You have incredible power inside you. Power that the enemy wants you to waste. But Jesus wants you to reclaim it. He wants you to walk in the fullness of who you were created to be. A son of God. An image bearer. A warrior. A leader. A man full of light and life and love. And if you're a woman hearing this, Understand that this message isn't anti-woman or about men withholding themselves from relationship. It's about men learning to steward their energy so they can show up fully in relationship, in fatherhood, in leadership, in all their responsibilities. A man who masters retention is a better partner, not a worse one. Take from this what resonates. Leave what doesn't. But at least consider the possibility that the creator of your body might have designed it with more wisdom than our modern culture gives him credit for.